Yes, thank you, and please help me welcome Jamie Rogers. He's part of the organization Adirondack North Country Association. His title is Circuit Rider, and he is here to tell us about climate smart communities. Welcome and thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. So, as mentioned, my name is Jamie Rogers. I work for the Adirondack North Country Association. In the particular program that the Circuit Rider program works for, we are an independent contractor to serve. Inc. is a not-for-profit organization. We work in the energy field, the food field, the arts field, and we've started a new program helping businesses in transition. So the purpose tonight is just to speak briefly to you about a program called the Climate Smart Communities Program. Perhaps some of you are familiar with it, and some of you may not be. On my personal level, I think it's a very good program, and I say this not just because for the benefit it provides for communities, but what I really enjoy is working with the different sustainability groups across the regions that I cover. And it's really rewarding and fun and interesting to work with dedicated and passionate people who are cheerleading some of the sustainability communities in the communities that I work in. And there's a lot of them working on the Climate Smart Communities program. To back up a little bit, the specific region that I work in is the 7 northern counties of New York State. So let me just give you a brief overview of the Climate Smart Communities information. From the board's perspective, or in your case, the council's perspective, there's basically about 5 steps in which you will pretty much just oversee and not do a lot of the heavy lifting. The first step is to pass the resolution, and I've provided you with a model of that resolution this evening. The pledge, municipal must join the program by passing the resolution. Municipalities may addend the whereas statements in the preamble, but all 10 points in that Climate Smart pledge that you are passing the resolution on must be adopted verbatim. The next step is to appoint a committee person to oversee your sustainability committee. It does not necessarily have to be a council member. It can be a member of a sustainability community that you've recognized and you want them to move forward. Their next step is to register that resolution onto the DEC's portal, and then that will start the ball rolling as we move forward in the climate action, or in the Climate Smart Communities program. And then the next step I've provided you with is a list of the action items. And those action items all have points attached to them. You can see some of them are mandatory, and then some of them are highlighted as not a priority, but what's the word I want? As a recommended step. And it will be up to your sustainability community group to help carry that out and document that again into the DEC portal. The one reason I gave you the action item list is, as council members, you may have some specifics on there that you're aware of, that some actions have already been done, or that you think they've been done, and the committee can go back and research them and say, okay, yes, we've accomplished this. And then other areas that you think would be a priority to work in would be another way you could feed back to your sustainability committee of things that you'd like to see happen in your community. And so once we have identified which actions we want to do, we start collecting some of the documentation. And then after the documentation is collected, we will go on DEC's portal and review each step of the for that particular action, review it, make sure we have accomplished what is needed to score those points, and then submit it. It will be an ongoing process on through the portal. So to be designated a Clean Action Communities program, a Climate Smart Communities community, you need to pass 120 points out of those actions, and then you can go more points to get the bronze, silver, and gold standards. I know I've given you a very brief presentation this evening, but I just want to say, as we start forward, the starting point is we'll be benchmarking the municipal buildings and building a greenhouse gas inventory for your community. That's a heavy lift. That's a lift that I'm committed to work with your committee with, the sustainability committee with, and I will be more than willing and able to help assist in that project. And then, just in closing, I know as this is new to some of you, and I've provided you with a very brief overview of this, but it's been a really pleasure working with Councilmember Armstrong and the members of that group, and it's growing every time I show up for a meeting, which is very exciting. And I really encourage you to move forward into the program. You can go on DEC's website, and for the sake of saving paper, you can review what the program is all about, and you'll see just the steps that I've outlined, and you'll get a little bit more detail on it.
How do you see this benefiting the city?
I think the one benefit, there's a number of benefits. We may find in doing some of the benchmarking and doing the fleet inventory that we may learn ways that the city could save some money.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I think is really important, and we're starting to see this in more of the northern part of my region, is that I think it really sends a strong message to your community and your city in particular that you know what, you care and you are paying attention. And it also does help you in working with the planning departments, develop, a climate smart plan. What are some of the actions? What are some of the threats that could face your area? What are some of the vulnerable infrastructures? Stuff like that. But I think the overall point of getting started is I think it sends a strong message to the residents that, and just by your group.
You had said earlier in communicating with the Plattsburgh Sustainability Committee that many of the actions that can be taken once you sign on to becoming a climate smart community can earn grant funding.
So a municipality may sign on to the Climate Smart Community's grant funding whether you are a climate smart community or not.
Okay.
I don't know, and I tried to review this, whether they revised this program recently and continue to revise it, whether if you're a climate smart community, you'll get extra points if you're applying for the grant.
Okay.
And the other thing I will say, in this particular grant program, it's required that the municipality provide a 50% match.
Okay. All right. So we could, one of the examples you shared with us is that we could go to all LED lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And could you give that example of how we might take advantage of the IEEP program in getting some subsidies for that?
So I don't know what your IEP fund is designated for, and I don't know if the city council has different programs that you've adopted working with your electric department. I mean, you're all aware of the IEP program, correct?
Yes.
So you could take some of that funds and say, okay, we're going to convert our interior lighting. That's a 70% energy savings. You could start to develop, an LED streetlight program where we say, okay, we're going to take some of those funds and we're going to start converting those out.
So the overall
any
objective is
area, IEP, any area that can go into energy efficiency, especially if it meets some of these action items, could help implement some of that.
So you said the first step that we should consider is signing this pledge or forming our own resolution to become a climate smart community. So I guess that would be the first thing that, I mean, and you've all received different materials from me. I know it can be a little bit overwhelming. When I'm overwhelmed, I print out stuff, and there's a climate smart guide that you can kind of highlight and manipulate online. It gives you a pretty good summary of everything that's involved in the program. And if you need a hard copy, I bet you that could be printed up for you. And then we would decide what our actions are once we made that commitment, correct?
I think once the council passes the resolution and says, okay, we're happy with this chairperson and or people in the...
Are you talking about the task force?
I'm talking, well, if you look at it, so the municipality passes the resolution, and after the resolution is adopted, a designate or primary contact person should be designated.
All right.
And after that, it's up to the committee to keep the council updated on what actions they're doing.
Okay.
So there's a good dialogue.
Okay.
But the burden is not to put a heavy lift on the council.
On the council, that there'll be other people who can carry out the work.
Correct.
All right. Are there any questions of Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Basically, from what I understood, that the benefit of the municipality for doing this, it gives us more points or sort of preferential treatment on certain environmental grants. Is that correct?
You can, the council could apply for any grants now that are available through the CFA application process. I don't know, and I tried looking this up, and I should call Dazzle from DEC, who I work with quite a bit, whether you get preferential points applying for those grants because you are a climate smart community, but you can still apply. The only other program, and I don't want to confuse it, is called the CEC program, Clean Energy Communities Program, where you adopt 4 out of the 10 action items. That's a no-match grant, and that's the only way you can win those awards.
If we already are doing some or many of these things, does that mean we can't score points because it uses the future tense for a lot of these, like develop something rather than, you know, for instance, when we installed the heating system in this building, we used heat pumps rather than electric resistive heating. So was that a disadvantage to us to have not done it?
No, it's not. You bring up a really good point, and I forgot to put this in my notes. We can go back like 2 or 3 years and say, okay, this was recently installed. We can get points for that. We just have to document that you've done it. The hardest part from the councils, and it's mostly your treasurer, is giving me the data, the square footage and the energy use for every meter in every building. It's like police, fire.
But you said you could help with that.
Oh, no, I'd be happy to help with that. I'd be happy to enter the data.
Great.
It's just, the poor person has gotta just give me that.
Right.
Well,
Hopefully
he
you-
loves this kind of stuff, so.
Hopefully you've got it on a spreadsheet that I can just upload it into the
Exactly.
Yeah.
portal.
Any further
In
questions?
some of the smaller communities, the treasurers and clerks are like, not you again. But
I do have a question. Very interested in this idea of, I think I saw you can change your fleet. I'm looking for where that falls under. It, like your vehicles and battery operated. I'm looking at, yeah, clean fleets. This was part of the 10, right?
Yep, so I don't want to confuse, you're probably looking at the CEC
I
one-pager?
think I was, yes.
So I'll be happy to talk about that, because the strategy that we've been talking about, not to bury you in information this evening, is that when we do the benchmarking, that would be one of the action items that we could document and pass a resolution, put it into CEC, that would be one of them ticked off. If you purchased
Right.
an EV charging station or bought a hybrid, we could tick that one.
So in other words, there's the Clean Energy Communities handout that you got.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that, I don't know where my list went, but may I borrow this? Some of those actions are included in the DEC's climate smart actions. So you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm sorry, that's not a good comparison, but by performing that for NYSERDA, you also perform it for the DEC and climate smart
So the
communities.
2 programs kind of intermingle.
Okay.
And that's, the program's going to, there's a new pond getting ready to come out, and there'll be a new funding source and new action items. So it's something that we should pay attention to say, hey,
Yeah, I mean, if we decided we wanted to start replacing some of our other city vehicles, where would we get the money to start doing that? I guess that's where I was coming from.
so the Clean Energy Community Program, they turn that into a competition. So each regional economic region, in this case the 7 northern counties, received 18 awards. 14 for municipalities under 40,000. Those are already taken. So right now, if you completed 4 out of those 10 action items, you could receive $5,000. But there will be a new round coming up with higher funding, so. I mean, it's a smart thing to do anyway if you gotta replace a vehicle, but it'd be nice to.
To me, that's the biggest cause of emissions, so it should be something that we take a serious look at.
Yep.
Did I understand you to say that all of these whereases have to be adopted in
No.
the city's resolution?
The resolution requires that municipalities may amend the whereas statements in the preamble, but all 10 points on
Okay,
there need to be.
at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Well, you have been really a good resource for the Plattsburgh Sustainability Committee, and because of Lisa Bergman, chapter president of the Climate Reality group in our city, we got to know you, and then you came and you spoke to the Plattsburgh Sustainability Committee. Now I'd like, any other questions need to be asked?
Is there a deadline?
There is not. You have as much time as you want to complete the action item.
But for the clean energy communities, there's a deadline of like September of this year.
If they're gonna reissue a new pond, it's my understanding within the month. I don't know whether they're gonna increase the funding in that, because the current program ends June 30th. So what they're talking about doing is maybe giving some more incentives higher than $5,000, and then after the first of the year, going into 2020, they will launch a new program. That's all tentative, can't hold me to it, but that's some of the feedback that I've been getting.
Well, I agree, this is something we should pursue anyway. If there's some benefits in there, that would be great also.
Well, and you know, I and Lisa Bergman looked at a webinar of other participating climate smart communities, and the exchange of information just among communities is really, really valuable. There are a lot of resources out there to help us implement this program if we decide to commit to it. There are neighboring communities. Saranac Lake is a participant in this. They're a potential resource for us. And Jamie, thank you so much for coming all the way from Lake Placid to come and visit us. And I'm really glad to hear that you could be supportive of us if we decide to take this step. And because actually you were invited here by the Plattsburgh Sustainability Committee, I would like a member to come forward and tell the council about an event that will follow up on our introduction on April 22nd, Earth Day.
Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you have my contact
That's
information.
right.
I'll be happy to come back, or if you need any more information, please let me know.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jamie.
Thank you very much.
So I'm just going to add this little part. I need the invitations, if you could present those. I gave them to Lisa. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Marty Martin. I am a member of the Sustainability Group.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one.
Nice to be here.
And then the rest will be for the press.
Excuse me.
No. And one to Elizabeth over here, please. Thank you.
As a follow-up to the Bill McKibben talk that was held at the United Methodist Church, there was a what's next kind of a action meeting that was held in January. And it was from interested people that went to that initial talk, and we got together, and what we decided our focus would be to create an Earth Week activity-laden initiative, I guess I'll call it, that would educate, provide opportunities for groups that are energy concerned and climate concerned to collaborate, because there are a lot of small groups out there, and we felt that we needed to come together to form a coalition. And we decided that we would take the week of April 22nd, which is actually Earth Day, and it's the 49th year to commemorate Earth Day. And we would have different activities all week long. And this event that you have in front of you that's advertised here is our kickoff. And we're thankful to be able to have this up in the rotunda upstairs, that we are, as you can see here, the description of what we've done in terms of providing opportunities for participation of all generations that evening, to just give you an opportunity to hear people's points of views about their concerns and the things that they would like to see. And as Rochelle mentioned, there's a group from Saranac Lake coming that have been a part of this program that Jamie just talked about, and they're going to share with you some of where they're at with it, what successes they've had, the process that they've gone through to initiate the program. So we hope you'll all attend. I think you will be, maybe you will learn some of the things that we've been working on, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions, and you will also just have a feel of what kinds of things are happening in our community. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark. And I'll just say that hopefully I'm open to talking to any one of you for the next few weeks about Climate Smart program and what advantages it might have for the city. And my goal is that the council puts forward a Climate Smart resolution very soon. Thank you.
At this time, I believe there's a need to go into an executive session to discuss the current ongoing litigation over Falcon Seaboard. Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. I checked 5 minutes ago. No.
Bring them treats, sorry. Get that mix up straight now. I think so, just a question. I don't know. Raise the issue, so I figured go to the horse's mouth. All right, good. Thank you for all your help and cooperation. Only the facts, sir. It's greatly appreciated. Only the facts. Right. So what's going on?
Well, okay, have you? Oh, so much. What in particular are you thinking of?
How you doing?
Did you grab an agenda from there? They're right outside on that little card.
She's biased because
Like that's what I noticed, like they've been getting sensitive points and and they're not like, it doesn't seem like now they're saying something, it's just like they're sprinting to take the first shot.
I was thinking today, how the first week, was almost born in the first days. But the official.
I see there, like 2 months, a couple of times.
Baby.
I think it is big.
It's serious.
Okay, all right. Like a wonder story. They actually run a play, it's not you asked for
But I definitely require you to use some turkeys. You know, so I would bring just say, right, you know, run together, you know, and we're in top there. And that is
One play, big shot.
So she did, my guess to go to a meeting, and so, my guess has to be actually on the Sunday before.
Three, okay.
So she said, I have no idea. Well, I'll just be back to that. Yeah. I'll be back. But that was when I was gonna go teaching. That dates. So I just have to let them know. I haven't had a chance to ask them. Can't do that. It's fine.
Well,
Yes, that was full. That's really good. She said, she has to work here.
when I first started, we didn't have this. We didn't start until my second year.
Was this when you did that quarter of the
Yes, yes.
I love that series. I wish you guys would do it again.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that the rest is to be able to do.
Just to see
There's
that.
different eras and different areas and technology.
All right. Yeah. Well, I think you sent it to me or something, but I haven't seen it. At that time, with people that were
Yeah, so. That's a little bit great, but. People's boys.
They both do. They play soccer.
You have to work tomorrow. They play high school.
No, I have. But that's, those are the things.
Next week is the day two.
You know, there are like
That
3 or 4.
two at Fox, Tuesday night from 5 to 7:30 at the library. The gentleman from Australia. I think that's like once at.
They're good.
Yeah, and you too. Well, you see.
Excuse me, are you Elizabeth Isabel? Yes. Hi, I'm Martin. And I've been trying to get in touch with you. Yeah, about her birthday celebration.
Birthday, April 20th.
22nd.
22nd.
Why don't you give me? Item 8, item 3.
Because they make it. But they really increased it. Yeah, because they just not, they were not.
Is ABK, MA,
So that,
MA.
that's. No, I think some here did that actually. Is the one that we double.
First one says no request that you register every article in the Sun.
Hospitals.
The Sun was major. Request it to me. I just, I'm in awe of your prolific and interest in what goes on in the community. I think it's great. I appreciate that. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to
ahead and send it to me. I'll send you an email.
Okay.
And is this your cell phone here?
Yes.
I'll text you as well, so you have my cell phone, you have my email address, so you'll be able to just send over the press release.
So the press release will give you the basic information.
I think that those
But my goal was to
there's so many of those little things.
start with the basic.
I'm going to put my time in
First
the
reading.
analysis and then come
And
back and say.
then elaborate it on every week after that, and then a week before, what, like to schedule in the sun about the events that are going to take the taking place the following week. I didn't know if you get that much room, or you have much latitude.
I think we can talk about, some sort of story, but what I would recommend is maybe consider submitting a poem. Like we do guest viewpoints. There's a word count, but you just write it up, submit it, and we can write our opinions section. So I would recommend that in terms of a series. I'd have to monitor all of this stuff.
Okay, so maybe you can have that conversation, and what I'm looking for is like a build up. Which is actually have all the answers. We're having 2 nights of speakers, 2 nights of movies, we're showing how we're seeking to manage your industry. We're having a Thursday celebration down Saturday morning on the 27th, farmers market, and then that cleanup. We're having a walk farmers market. Circle.
You have to go through the plan, right?
It's a short walk, symbol of what we're trying to accomplish during the
And there's a
first
project.
month. And all of this is in, as I mentioned before, well, I didn't go into it, I didn't elaborate, but it's a lead up to the 50th anniversary of my birthday, which is next year. So this is kind of a year-long thing, from day until next year, the 50th anniversary. We're going to be doing this all year long. And we've chosen the theme this time for action. In essence, that we're going to are saying, we've talked enough.
And this is for the number,
This
this is for
today
the.
at
Performance.
and we've been meeting in concert with some of the members of the sustainability group.
Most of the people I know are not.
In this church. And it's like, we're going to
Some of these
extend
streets.
the day to Sunday.
It's a minority.
And Reverend Phil Richards is going to be speaking to the big community about listing,
Because the Democrats.
encouraging them to have some kind of a sermon or service related to earth and creation and on that Sunday, so that would be the culmination of the weekend. But we're going to do something every month and lead up to the anniversary. So I think it had a lot of potential for play, and every time it builds into something. And it really seniors out there, but
Never ends in the North Country, does it? I get booked right away that summer.
Could you have another one after that?
and we're meeting as a group to, perhaps with the city to bring.
No, I've already got.
things.
And
And so we've done, I've done a mock-up press release. It came up to me, headquarters, and I read it over, so 500 word limit.
Waiting for Saturday.
So
Sunday,
I just need approval to go forward with that. And so we're gonna be working on that on Wednesday, and then we're doing, did you see the snowball sheet that came out of the Brewery
Here, because I heard.
place that we,
New York, I think is getting.
they had with me?
Too, so that's when
We're gonna do something similar to that, that also lists all the events that are taking place.
Should I?
I think that's gonna be done by Heritage Printing,
Because I looked at the
least
weather
that's-
forecasts,
that's the earmark.
and I couldn't see.
I'm
That's what I
sure.
heard, and I, weather, of course, you know how the TV's.
So trust too, but, excuse me, when I realized who you might be, I decided to go over and introduce myself, so that, you know, I've been trying, like I said, to get a hold of you to actually talk to you.
Yeah.
Excuse me, so I appreciate this opportunity, and sustainability group. The League of Women.
Yes, thank you. Actually,
Missing one person. I'm missing Jefferson. Oh, we're just waiting for one person, please. Keep chatting. Well, we are coming back from executive session, discussing our ongoing litigation with Falcon Seaboard. No decisions were made during executive session. Let's begin the common council meeting with you this evening. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed,
Present.
Councilor Armstrong,
Here.
Councilor Kelly,
Here.
Councilor Gibbs,
Here.
Councilor Ensel, Councilor McFarland,
Here.
Councilor Moore.
Here.
Just one short announcement. I think we're all very proud of the Plattsburgh State women's hockey team. Was it their 7th or 8th national championship? It's quite an amazing group of young women there. So. And I know some others of you also watched the hockey game on the live feed too. So that's all I have for tonight.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending March 20th, 2019 in the amount of $95,660.41 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Got in the packet your usual reports. Do I have any additional reports beginning with governance strategy and city operation? Councilor Armstrong?
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to supply you with an update on investigating whether OpenGov is the software that is the best software for the city to purchase. I met with Councilors Kelly and Moore this week to review some of the information that I had received. I passed it along to them. I think I passed it along to you as well. A more complete update than what I summarized here, I just sent to you at 3:30 today. So when you open your emails, you will see the full scope of what we were discussing. But we were really wanting to provide council with a very complete set of justifications and benefits of purchasing this software, and the cost, and how we felt as though it would supply the city with efficiencies that would justify its purchase. So I'm going to submit that as a formal report next week. And I hope to be speaking to you individually about our discoveries, and I hope that we can pursue a contract very soon.
City infrastructure, Councilor Moore?
Well, we're finally starting to win the battle of the potholes. Although I see some
I don't know
pop
yet.
out just as fast
Too soon.
as they end up being put in, but it's better than it was. And warmer weather is coming when we can actually address those properly.
And of course, I was reading in Montreal, they have 16 vehicles out, and they put 2 extra vehicles out for pothole repair in Montreal. City of Plattsburgh has 3 vehicles, but we're probably 100th the size of Montreal too, so on a per capita basis, we're really putting out an effort. And every Midwest and northern cities having a terrible time this year for potholes, worst in the history of many people's memory. So doing the best we can. We do expect them to be bad for another week or so because we are going to have more snow and freezing. It's this freezing and thawing and melting, freezing and thawing and melting that really wreaks havoc on the roads. But the group's doing the best they can, finding out that they can fill a pothole and within a few hours can already disappear into the void. So thank you all for your patience on that. City Finance and Budget, Councilor Kelly.
Well, we had our monthly meeting this afternoon, but most of it was consumed by an executive session. So nothing new to report really. And just to say that our March meeting will be a good one because, of course, Mr. Marks will be back, and it will be an opportunity to review our first quarter financials. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Your April meeting, I presume? You meant your April meeting?
Yeah, did I say March? I meant April.
Just Mary, if I might ask, is Chairman Marks to return next week?
It'll be your next week. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Public Safety, Councilor Gibbs.
So we'll be meeting next week for our normally scheduled meeting. I did want to update very briefly. Jamie came here a couple of weeks ago to present the SAFER grant, and I just wanted everyone to know that I had thoroughly vetted that grant. I even went so far as to email and phone call DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and FEMA to get more information. So we are not going to pursue it at this time, but I did learn that it will be offered again next winter. So I just wanted to thank the fire department for bringing that to us.
Thank you. Plattsburgh Public Library, Councilor Ansel. Oops, I'm sorry. Can you represent Councilor Ansel on that? Are you the co-chair?
The meeting is next week. I assume that he will not be able to go since he'll be recuperating, but I can go.
Is there still a vacancy on the Board of Trustees?
I don't know. I'll find that out and report back to you.
My count is there's still one vacancy.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Okay.
MLD Board President, Councilor McFarland.
Yes, I don't really have any updates at this time, although I did want to talk to the mayor, and I hope to be setting up a meeting with Mr. Tracy soon and the mayor. We do have we were waiting to April to come, so probably not before next week. But once April comes, there should be some stuff to discuss. And perhaps Councilor Armstrong would like to meet with me and Mr. Tracy as well, and the mayor to discuss with him some of the things I see in these proposals.
Wonderful.
Of the climate smart and
Thanks.
clean energy community.
Great.
But other than that, no updates at this time.
He believes that the new MLD building can be built green, and that's worth an awful lot of points on the whole scoring system. So that'd be really appropriate for our MLD building to be also a green building, given that most all our power comes from a sustainable source as well.
Right. That's exciting.
Resolved that the reports as listed are hereby ordered and received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Armstrong, seconded by Councilor Gibbs. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. No correspondences or recommendations from boards at this time. Please continue.
Resolved that the bills audited by the Common Council for the week ending March 22nd, 2019 in the amount of $1,005,724 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kelly, seconded by Councilor Armstrong. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This is now an opportunity for the members of the public to please come and address the council on any issues on the agenda, which, since there's almost none tonight, probably won't be an awful lot of roaring discussion, but there is an opportunity to come up and address the council for any issue of mutual concern at the end of the meeting as well.
As I said before, my name is Marty Martin, and I realize tonight that it's very difficult to hear some of you being in the audience. So I don't know if that can be remedied in such situation. I know I haven't come every meeting, so I, wouldn't expect you to do it just for me, but maybe just generally for the audience, that there be some kind of amplification of the discussion that takes place.
We'll look into that. That's been asked before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did not know that.
Seeing no other public comments, please continue.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves the City Chamberlain to transfer $46,875 from the Community Development Office's 2019 budget line item for events coordinator to the Mayor's Office 2019 personnel line item to fund the position of Community Engagement Coordinator.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Moore. Discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Are there any resolutions for initial consideration tonight? Any new business and councilor reports? Any closing public comments on any topic of mutual concern?
Good evening. I'm Jesse Tyler. I have a few comments. I have one basic comment. As the DRI is moving forward, I'm just curious, the prime companies who are doing the work, did you do site visits to look at some of the properties they have developed?
I did.
You did?
Well, I
So
looked
did
at two
Peter.
of them.
I'm sorry?
Ansel.
Peter also did, I believe.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I went to Hudson Square, which is the development in Cohoes, last week. And I looked around and I saw some things that I really liked very much, and I saw one thing that I think is quite relevant to us that needs to be addressed. I went in, I introduced myself, and stressed that I'm there as a private citizen. I'm not representing anyone like that. I spoke to the rental manager, and she pointed out that the Hudson Square development, which is the one in Cohoes, is amenity-based. It doesn't have commercial uses inside that development. And she suggested that the one in Schenectady, Electric City, which is opening next month, is closer to what we will be doing. But nevertheless, I looked around, I saw what they're doing. I think the interiors are fine. And there are just a couple of comments I had. One of the things that struck me immediately, and I'll just go over them because it's just two of you have been. I don't know if you've discussed what you saw, but in the construction that I saw, first of all, it's bigger than what we're doing. The buildings have inner hallways and community spaces, as opposed to a lot of our multifamily units that are being built here all have front doors that are opening out, so everyone has their own front door. And I really liked these interior hallways. I know of at least one other recent development here that has interior hallways, because it brings people together. There's, people can look at each other's dirty laundry, and there can be arguments about who left the clothes in the dryer and so forth, but it is more of, you could say maybe it's a more dorm type environment, but I like the fact that there were interior hallways where people are getting together. The neighborhood in which it is placed, if I had to pick a neighborhood in Plattsburgh that looks like the neighborhood where the Hudson Square apartments are, I'd say it's sort of South End-ish. That's the sort of neighborhood that it looks like. Did you see?
I didn't go to the one in Cohoes. I went to the one in Saratoga.
That's a little fancier, I think.
Yeah, it was very self-contained because it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere where you wouldn't have expected. It wasn't like a downtown where we're looking for in Plattsburgh.
I'm glad you said self-contained because yes, the word that I thought of for this was enclave.
Yeah.
You could be there, and that's the point that I wanted to bring up because I think it's important to deal with. Between the parking area, there's parking underneath the building, which has been discussed, angle parking on the street and so forth. Here's a building, there's parking underneath, parking in front of it, and then there's a park area beyond that, and there's a pond stocked with fish, I am told. between the parking area and the lawn or park or whatever it is. And it's very nice, they're very proud of it, and that's the thing that started me thinking about what we have to consider, what you have to consider about what's happening downtown here. Because that lovely pond, it's wonderful, you can look at the and people can fish in it, they stock it. If you look at it another way, it's a barrier between the self-contained, your word, enclave, my word, of this development, and it separates it from the rest of the community. And I think that's very, very important for us to watch as it's developed. My concerns, and here are the things I have. It's the neighborhood. There is basically no neighborhood integration in the one that I looked at. Now, granted, the one in Schenectady that has commercial uses, I would assume has more connection, but I don't see the connection. And making sure that connection is there, I'm not certain, but I believe in our DRI, I think there are two separate groups. One is doing the construction, and then there's streetscapes. I wonder if that structure, and I don't know, but I wonder if the structure is maybe needs extra attention to make certain that there is a connection between this development and the others.
Mr. 5 minutes.
Yeah, this fortunately is my last point. The key to the integration of the DRI with the rest of the city of Plattsburgh, in my unbiased opinion, is completion of phase 2 of the Saranac River Trail, the bridges across the river. Because without that, that's funded. And I think the fact that phase 2 is funded means that people aren't worrying about it because it's not a financial thing. It's stalled, I believe, because of the bank structuring, river bank, not financial bank. But that's an issue that has come up for a long time, and it just needs a little bit of a push to get it done. We're not talking about money here. We're talking about completing this project that is ready to go. Because without that bridge, the two actually, without that bridge, the enclave here is going to be separated from the village, from the rest of the city. And I think we have to make an extra effort to take this connection that has been built and funded, and you know the difficulties we have, we've got it. So I think, don't think about this thing, oh, it's a DEC thing and the riverbank stabilization, we don't have to worry about that. This is funded, and if those bridges are not in, we are going to be building, I'm afraid, an enclave that is self-contained and not part of the city of Plattsburgh. So that, I was very impressed with what I saw, but that is the big red flag that I brought back with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. I would just like to touch on that a little, because I think I didn't see the one in Cohoes. I did look at some pictures on it in their development thing, but I'm really excited to see what they could do with Plattsburgh, and I am excited to see Electric City, because when they came to talk to us, they were saying the one that's going to be closest here is Electric City. The one in Saratoga, it's certainly self-contained, and there's nothing around it. There's like fields around it. It's not in Saratoga Springs. I also looked at a hotel they made, which is, but that's obviously a hotel. And it was self-contained. They had a grocery store in the middle. They had a smash burger, a coffee shop. But I think, and when we spoke to them, they seemed to be very excited and very receptive that this project will be in a downtown and that it will be able to be open to the community. And that's another benefit to the residents that would be living there, would be that they can walk to the restaurants. It doesn't have to be self-contained. They've also been very open about corroborating with the other aspects of the DRI, the streetscape in the riverfront. And if you looked at their proposal, they had a picture of some sort of promenade on the riverfront, but they were very careful to say, like, look, we know this isn't us going to be, we're making sure that there's going to be land here for development of the riverfront, maybe some sort of promenade. This is just a rough thing we threw in there, but we're very cognizant that there's other parts of the DRI that are going to be working there, and they're very cognizant that it needs to be incorporated in to the downtown city structure. Certainly, and one of the things I liked when I was looking through their apartments was they did have a lot of community spaces. Even if it was on the third floor, they had like this rooftop like picnic area, and where you could open these like sort of windowed garage doors, and so in the summer the inside and outside could be together, and the whole community or that whole one building could get together and have barbecues and be very social. But I do think, and I certainly hope, that when it gets built, it certainly will be integrated into our downtown. With the River Walk, it's absolutely necessary. It's going to be open to the public. And they have this other, in between buildings 1 and 2, they're going to have a walkway. And that was one of the things that came up when they presented to the public that I think was very important. And certainly we had constituents and members of the public, especially like Danielle Erb, can we widen that area that cuts down from Margaret Street, that park area, and then opens up and gives another like more beautiful walkway to access for the public through prime properties to the Riverwalk again. So
Through the West Elcom Park.
yeah, through the West Elcom Park and down. So there is hope that that can be widened and made more park-like.
But the phase 2 has to be done, and I'm very much afraid that it's just been pushed aside. I was invited to 2 meetings on integration of the Saranac River Trail with the DRI. 2. Both were canceled, and I was told there was no need to reschedule.
Okay, so in response to that, when you're coming up and reminding us of the need to keep this on our radar, I'm very much your advocate, and we're reviewing capital projects coming up here soon, and that conversation will happen.
Thank you. I mean, you don't even need it for the capital budget. You got the
No,
money there.
well, apparently there are some cost overruns that people are concerned
Well, I
about.
think the holdup right now is the DEC and their bank
But
plan.
DEC just needs pushing.
Uh-huh.
If they see that the Common Council wants to know why it's held up,
Okay.
that
Yeah,
That's free.
we've been pushing,
nagging is free.
We know that every year that it takes long to do it is a year of higher cost overruns, all of which the city's gonna bear. We'd love to push. We're not in control over the DEC schedule, as frustrating as that is.
But I'm sure that I know that I and other counselors that are sitting here are listening to you, and we'll keep it on our radar. Yep.
Send someone to Albany to talk to the people there. When people from communities show up in offices in Albany,
Right.
it makes a tremendous difference.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank
Great,
you for your advocacy, too.
No, I'm just a nag.
Any further public comment? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So
Moved by
moved.
Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Armstrong. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call, huh?
Yeah.
Councilor Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Councilor.
It's okay.
Councilor Kelly,
I vote for adjournment also.
Councilor McFarland,
Yes, please.
Councilor Moore.
Yes.
Thank you,
you.
folks.
Could you sign that?
Almost lost your voice there, huh?
Poor kid. Hope you see it home tomorrow. Does anyone else need to sign off on the payroll?
I don't know how that's.
Did you in a second?
So you might want to corral some people before they go.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes, yes,
I
yes.
just want to make sure. That's all.
Hi, how are you? Good.
I know a few weeks ago you talked about,
Ira, how are you?
I interviewed.
Please ask away.
Oh, yeah, that's our today. Oh, that's fantastic, yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I think that will work very nicely. Councilor Armstrong's push, this, yes, and
Was that through the IE?
I'm proponent of getting us. Hi, are you waiting for me? Yes, I would love to.
What am I signing for you? Let me get my pen.
Oh, yes. Oh, it can't be black. Oh, I don't have a blue pen. This is all I have in my life is black. Is black. That's fine. I don't think it. Oh, for her, I'm sorry.
That was like the only reason.
Really?
Yes, because a lot of people, when they were doing this project, that would photocopy it and turn it like, so.